Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Back again today with another video. This time I'm going to show you how I decoded the Ronin market on the Ronin chain. So I'm assuming this is like the main marketplace on Ronin, and I've gotten a lot of helps to start this from the Laughing Man, so shout out to his query. And mainly what I got is these few contract addresses, so I can start looking at the contract addresses right away. Also, this is not a live coding video because I spent like a good several hours on this, and so I'm just gonna walk through my work instead. Okay, so what do we have here, right? We have with a few addresses. We have a collection offer address, and then we have a market gateway proxy and market gateway proxy multisend. Now, I've mentioned this in my previous video before, but every time you see the word proxy, it means that this address relies on another address called an implementation address for the actual functions in this API. This contract address itself does not have the necessary, or does not have all of the functions needed to, I guess, related to whatever this is, right? So let's go through. So the first thing I would do is I would sort of just take this contract and paste it onto Ronin scan. So I think a good thing about this Ronin Chain Explorer is that the labels are quite good. So more often than not, all the contracts I see are labeled. Okay, so we have this thing called collection offer proxy, and let's just click into one contract, one transaction. Let's say like this settle offer transaction. And the way to find out what the implementation address is you just click on internal transactions, which is traces, and look for whenever the type is a delegate call. So in this case, you can see that the collection offer proxy made a delegate call to collection offer. So this would be the implementation address, and you can click into it, go to the contract tab, and be able to copy the contract API if you need, right? So so after going through all these contract addresses, what I found is that there are actually there's like two categories of contracts. The first category is a collection offer. So it seems like they added this contract very recently, sometime in February, I believe, and it's the ability to put out an offer for in a given collection, maybe just like any, accept any NFTs from this particular collection, and so that's why it's called a collection offer. And the other set of contracts are what I would call like the regular marketplace contracts, right? And how I found out about them is I would go into one, let's say like this one over here, and same thing. So click into Ronin Chain Explorer, go to one of the transactions. There's no entity transfer here, so I don't want this one. Click on another one. Okay, there's nothing here as well. Now what are all these? This could be like someone listing their offer, someone cancelling their offer, placing a bid, right? There's so many things. Let's try to find one. Okay, there you go. So there is an NFT transfer here. So this is an NFT sale, and I want to go into traces again, look for delegate call traces, and you will see that market gateway proxy made two delegate calls, one to market gateway and one to Mavis Order Exchange. Now, if you look into market gateway and go to contract, and if you were to copy this and look it up, right? So for example, copy this, go to something like JSON beautifier or beautify, and I was trying to find like some sort of order match, order fulfill, right? Those sort of words that usually signify NFT sales, but unfortunately I couldn't find any. So that tells me that this is not the implementation address that is related to exchange, like the actual sale itself. Which brings me to the second one, maybe it's order exchange, and turns out this is the one that has the actual contract itself. And turns out also, or I found out also, the way they have their contract set up is they have a contract for ERC 721 and another contract for ERC 1155s. So the traditional NFTs and then the NFTs where you can have multiple copies per token ID. And that's what I did. That's all those fact-finding exercises. I put them all, I believe, here. Yeah. So I'll share the query in the description in the video, but this is where I have all my fact-finding. And so recall that the two buckets of contracts that I mentioned. One is the new contract where you can make an offer to a collection. I'm just gonna call this collection offer, right? And then the other set of contracts where it's your usual 721 and 1155s. So collection offer and the regular sale. Now, collection offer is very straightforward, right? Maybe because it's new, so they learn a thing about it also. But all the logs are decoded properly in the decoder log, and you can just extract it very easily. Using the decoder logs table, filter for contract address, filter for event name, and all the information should be there. Very straightforward. So you got a buyer, seller, what is the price, right? Just need to do some checking what price to use because there are a few here. And then I even pulled out or flattened the allocation. So allocations is where how the total price or total sale amount is divided into the different receivers. So you have the seller receive the amount. There's a portion that goes to the treasury. There's a portion that goes to royalty. And there's a portion that goes into the addresses that receive the royalties essentially. And so all those are in allocations, and you can sort of just flatten the allocations array and sort of pull out what you need, right? So very simple. The query is just about 100 lines. Now where it gets hard and interesting is the regular sale, because the decoder log is not decoding things properly. Instead, we have instead it's not decoded properly, and the reason for that is because there are a lot of nested tuples, and I'll show you what I mean in a bit. Let's try to find it. So I have it here somewhere. Let's close what I don't need. Okay, I believe this is the one. So how I got to this is the same thing, right? Find the implementation address, go to contract API, and then copy and paste the API. And so this is the order match event, and this is why the decoder wasn't able to decode it properly. So I'll show you. So let's see. So order match is here. Okay, so all this is order match, right? There are 6 inputs, and the first input is a tuple. Okay, so you have your first tuple, and in the first input there is another tuple called order, and within order, which is a tuple, there is another tuple called generic order, And so, yeah, if under generic order, the third input is another tuple, an array tuple, and so there's like a lot of layers in the data, and I think that is why the decoder is not able to decode it properly. And so in times like this is where I would decode it by hand, and I'll show you how. I'll not go through in detail because I think the traces videos, as I have a playlist for traces on my channel, in those videos I go through in depth of how I would do this. But essentially you would just copy all the data from event logs, compare them side by side with the ABI. I like to paste it into a sheet like this, where I can see the data, I can see the corresponding index, and then based on the ABI, I just sort of go through and decode it manually. Like for example, if there are offsets, add the offsets, right? If it's not an offset, what is the variable name? In this case, it's a price, token, matcher, accepted settle price, right? So on and so forth. Do the decoding, and from this template you can then craft your query. And the query from doing this manually gives me this, right? So I have a few things here. So all these things where you see there's a bunch of hex to int conversions, divide by 32, those are offsets, right? This is all informed by the marketplace, by this Google Sheet. And so let's go back to the start a bit. Okay, so why the traces table? I'm using a traces table here because I want to get the delegate call. So remember the proxy addresses, the implementation addresses, right? All the proxies makes delegate calls to their respective implementation addresses, and so these are all the new and old addresses or contracts for ERC 721 and 1155s. And see how I filter for the delegate call here. And when using traces, you always have to filter for the function selector or the signature. And so these are the related function signatures. You can see here my commented out queries is how I used to get all of this information. So this is like my working document essentially. Okay, then you've got the event logs table, and which leads to the sort of the meat of the query over here, which tells you like where is the offset, how much is the offset, so on and so forth, right? So what's interesting is that I will need to extract two sort of big chunks of information. One is assets, which is like information related to the NFTs that are being traded. And the way this works is, let's go back to the ABI here. Assets is an array, so that means there are multiple sets of this. So you can imagine how this is all like describing one NFT, and there can be multiple there can be multiples of this describing each set describing one NFT. So what is the ERC, what is the address, what is the ID, what is the quantity, right? So to extract, so how this appears in the data is that there will be 4 rows, right? ERC, address, ID, quantity. And if there are 2 NFTs, the next 4 rows would be the next 4 lines. And so I have this neat index over here, which just gives me all of the possible rows where it's an asset. So just a cool little trick. Hard to explain, but if you do this query by hand, you should be able to see what this represents. And then yeah, same thing here. I was checking if in the final asset, is it possible that there are more than one NFT per event index? I found out there is not. So all of the event indexes only hold one NFT, even though there can be multiple NFT sales per transaction. So they will just appear in multiple event indexes. Allocation row is another one. This also appears in the collection offer query, where it tells you how the total sale amount is divided up into the multiple recipients, right? You have the seller address, you have the platform fee, and you have the royalty fees. So that's that. And in the same concept, where we have a base query, and we sort of join our allocations, right? What is the sale amount? What is the platform fee amount? Same concept as we did for our collection offer. The only difference is collection offer has a much simpler base, right? Where it's all already in the decoder log, as compared to this, where you have to decode stuff manually. And I was doing a bunch of stuff as well, like trying to find some conditions, like is it true if the matcher address is this and this, the currency is this and that, right? Those sort of things. And yeah, that's the final query. So let's see what's in the final query. Right, transaction hash, event index, matcher address, recipient, buyer, seller. What is the token, payment token? I see it's mostly just Ron, although I did find a few transactions where someone would sort of pay in another currency, and then the marketplace sends to a contract to swap before like paying the actual sale. So that was pretty interesting. And yeah, price, platform fee, NFT address, token ID, quantity, very straightforward things. Now, you may ask, like, why not just use token transfers to join on the event logs and just get all the token transfers? That works for like very simple transactions like this, right? Where actually it doesn't work for even like this, right? Because you see what's happening here is that this address accepts an offer from the NFT, and so the offer is sent in rep Ronin. And so if you were to sum all the token transfers, you'll be summing the volume 2 times, right? Because there are 2 rep Ronin transfers here, where actually it's only 1 transfer. The reason there's 2 is because the collection address or the marketplace address is sending it to the rep Ronin helper to convert it to native RON to send it to the seller, which you can see here. Yeah, you see how it sends rep RON to the helper then converts that to native RON. Okay, so where was I? Yeah, so that's the reason, right? And also, and that's another reason is, if you are buying multiple NFTs in one transaction, how are you able to differentiate how much exactly is that one particular NFT, right? Given that there's a bulk purchase. Now, I'll show you one example that I found. Let's see. Where is it? Okay, this one, right? So, okay, so in this transaction, there are 6 NFTs purchased, and let's look at what the transaction looks like in its overview. So you see all the NFTs sale happens here, and you just have like one native price, right? And so if you just use ETH transfers, you will not be able to get exactly like how much goes to the treasury for this particular NFT, which is what the decoding this by hand will tell you, right? It tells you this NFT is this price, that NFT is that price, right? You can see how the numbers are slightly different from one another. They are not exactly the same, right? If you were to sort of divide all, take this number and then divide by 6, you get different numbers than what's stated here. So obviously accuracy is one of the plus points for decoding by hand, but for this particular example I can totally understand because it's pretty there are a lot of nested tuples to decode. But yeah, that's about it. Yeah, lots of edge case to catch here as well. Like if you look at ERC 1155s, they have quantity. How does that show up for 721 in the contract, right? Those sort of things. Yeah, so I think that's it for the video. I just want to offer a query for people to be able to now query NFT sales essentially. Now obviously this query is not complete because first you have to union in these two queries and then join on the price table to get the latest to just get USD prices instead of these raw prices, right? So there's some work there, but that should be pretty straightforward. I think the meat of the work is all right here. And yeah, I just want to show my working document how I would normally go about decoding things manually. You can see I have all these tabs open on the ABI, and then the Google Sheet, like I mentioned, very, very helpful for me at least. And to learn how to do this, it's all in my traces playlist on my channel. Alright, I think that's it for this video. A short video, but I just want to get this out. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on next one. Bye.